Hey everyone, how's your day going? Whether it's been good or rough, you're not alone. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the world of mystery together. Alright, listen, I'm not the type to get paranoid or scare easily. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and I don't believe in ghost stories. But what happened to me last New Year's Eve still haunts me to this day. I live in a small southern town, and if you've ever driven through backroads here at night, you'd know how dark they get. No streetlights, no houses, just endless rows of trees, and a feeling of complete isolation. Every year, my friend Darren throws a New Year's Eve party at his parents' house. They live in a wealthy neighborhood, but to get there, you have to drive through a long stretch of desolate country road. And it was on that road that I saw her. That night, I was driving alone. The air was unusually cold, sharp enough to make me tighten my grip on the steering wheel. Everything was fine until I hit a straight stretch of road. That's when, in the glow of my headlights, I saw something white among the trees. I blinked. Standing there right at the edge of the road was a woman in a long white dress. She was completely still, facing the trees, her arms hanging limply at her sides. There were no other cars. No signs of life. No reason for someone to be standing alone in the woods at night. I kept driving, refusing to look directly at her. But a few seconds later, instinct took over and I glanced into my rearview mirror. And right then, she had turned to face me. She didn't move. She didn't run after the car. She just stood there, watching me go. I tried to push the image out of my mind. Maybe she was a lost hiker? Maybe someone playing a prank? I made it to Darren's house and the party was great. Music, food, laughter, all the things that should make you feel safe. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. Who would believe me? Around 1 a.m. I decided to leave. My car was the only one left in the driveway. I started it up and immediately the low tire pressure warning light came on. Probably just the cold, I told myself. I decided to take the same route back home. That was the worst mistake of my life. A few minutes into the drive, my car started making a strange noise. At first, I thought it was the rough road, but then the sound got worse, a metallic grinding, like something was dragging against the asphalt. I pulled over. The night was unnervingly silent. When I stepped out and checked my tires, I froze. All 4 tires, not just one, not 2, all 4 had been completely shredded. Not like a puncture, not like wear and tear, but as if something with claws had ripped them apart. Then, in the suffocating silence of the night, a voice whispered from the trees, "I see you." I went stiff. The voice was soft, almost playful, but it was too close. I gripped my phone and turned on the flashlight. I aimed it at the woods, and there, just a few feet beyond the tree line, she was standing there. This time, I saw her face, skin pale as a corpse, hair long, tangled, falling past her shoulders. And the worst part, half of her jaw was missing, yet somehow, she was smiling. For a second, I couldn't move. My body refused to respond. Then she tilted her head, just slightly, and I heard it again. "Can you see me?" I ran. I didn't think, I just ran. Behind me, twigs snapped, leaves crunched. She was chasing me. I could hear her moving unnaturally fast, but I never turned around. I just ran, pushing my legs harder than I ever had in my life. Somehow, I made it back to Darren's house. I pounded on the door, screaming. His mom opened it, pulling me inside. I collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. Darren's family called the police. They said they'd check the road in the morning. I spent the night in the guest room, but even after I had locked the door, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching me. And then, at 3:14 a.m., tap, 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 a light knock at the second floor window. I froze. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see. But then, "I see you." At sunrise, Darren's dad checked outside. Near the house, right beneath my window, they found something. A rusty knife. The police investigated the area where I had seen her. They found no footprints, no traces of anyone living nearby. But they did find something else. Scattered throughout the woods were the bodies of animals, gutted and left to rot. And here's the part that still keeps me up at night. When Darren's dad checked the dirt beneath my window, he saw footprints. Footprints that circled the house. Footprints that stopped beneath my window. But no footprints that left. I still go to Darren's New Year's Eve parties. But now, I never drive alone. And no matter what, I will never ever take that road again. Alright, listen up. I've taken a lot of taxis in my life and I've had my fair share of weird encounters. But this one still keeps me up at night. I was 26 at the time, returning home from a trip to San Diego. It was a late-night flight, one of those where you land at an airport that feels eerily empty except for a handful of exhausted travelers shuffling around like zombies. By the time I got outside to the ground transportation pickup, it was about 12:30 a.m. My first mistake? Instead of calling an Uber, I flagged down a random taxi. It was an older yellow minivan, the kind that looked like it belonged in a different decade. The driver, a man in his mid-40s, with greasy thinning hair and a stiff grin that didn't reach his eyes, rolled down the window and asked, "Need a ride?" I should have said no, but the airport was empty. I was exhausted, and my apartment was only 30 minutes away. When he quoted me $30 flat, which was way cheaper than Uber, I shrugged and said, "Yeah, sure." Mistake number 2. He stepped out to help me with my luggage, but I insisted, "It's fine. I got it." He smiled, but his eyes didn't move from me as I put my bag on the seat beside me. When I sat down, I realized I had made another mistake. I wasn't directly behind him. I was diagonal from him, giving him a clear line of sight to me through the rearview mirror. As we pulled onto the highway, I caught him looking at me, not glancing, staring. First, it was small talk. "So, coming from San Diego?" "Yep. Vacation. Visiting a friend." "Oh, a friend." He put a strange emphasis on the word friend. "A girl like you traveling all alone. That's dangerous, don't you think?" A chill ran down my spine. "Well, I wasn't alone," I said quickly. "I was staying with my friend." "Ah," he said, nodding slowly. Then, after a pause, "Is your friend as pretty as you?" I let out a nervous laugh. "That's kind of a weird question," I said, trying to play it off. His eyes flicked to me in the mirror again. That same unsettling grin. "I'm just making conversation." I kept my responses short after that, hoping he'd drop the creepy comments. We were getting close to my neighborhood. I knew the next exit was mine, so I sat up a little. But then, he drove right past it. I felt my stomach drop. Hey, that was my exit," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't slow down. "Oh, don't worry," he said casually. "I'll take the next one." But something felt wrong. I tried to look at his GPS screen, but it was tilted away from me. That's when I knew he never put my address in. He never intended to take me home. My heart was racing now. I pulled out my phone and sent a location share to my brother along with a text. "Call me. Now." No response. I glanced up. The driver was watching me in the mirror. "Everything okay?" he asked, his grin slightly wider now. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just letting my boyfriend know I'm almost home." I saw the briefest flicker of irritation cross his face. Then he asked the weirdest question yet. "What's his name?" My stomach twisted into knots. Why the hell would he ask that? Jake, I lied. His grip on the wheel tightened slightly. For the first time, I noticed his hands were dirty. Dirt under his fingernails. Something dark dried onto his skin. I needed to get out. Up ahead, I saw a red light. A police car was parked in an empty lot nearby. I made my move. I grabbed my bag and yanked the van door open. "HY, what are you doing?" he shouted, reaching for the controls to lock the doors. But I was faster. I jumped out, slammed the door, and sprinted toward the police car. I didn't stop running until I was right next to it, knocking frantically on the window. The cop inside looked confused as he rolled it down. "Sir, please, can you take me home?" I gasped. I think the taxi driver was about to kidnap me. The cop glanced up, but the taxi? It was gone. I got home safely, but I couldn't sleep. At 2:45 a.m., there was a knock at my door. Soft, rhythmic. I didn't move. Another knock. I crawled to the peephole, heart hammering. There was no one there, but the knocking continued. Then silence. A minute passed, 2, and then a shadow moved past my window. The next day, my neighbor George called. "Hey, I saw your dad trying to get into your apartment earlier. He didn't have a key." My blood ran cold. "George, my dad's at work. He was never here." That evening, I went back to my apartment to grab some clothes. The second I stepped inside, I felt it. Something was wrong. I moved slowly down the hall. The bedroom door was slightly open. And then, a voice, low, whispering, "I wasn't going to hurt you." A hand reached around the doorframe. I ran. I didn't stop running until I was outside, pounding on George's door. When the police arrived, they searched my apartment. The back sliding door was open. Whoever he was, he had been inside the whole time. I never found out if it was the taxi driver or someone else. I never saw his face. The cops couldn't trace the cab. I had no receipt, no license plate, nothing. All I know is this: someone followed me home that night. Someone stood outside my door at 3 a.m. Someone was inside my apartment, waiting for me. Since then, I don't take taxis. I don't travel alone at night. And most importantly, I never ever ignore red flags.